The 1965 Washington quarter holds a unique place in numismatic history, particularly due to the error varieties that have emerged from that year. While the quarter itself is not inherently rare, certain error types can make specific examples valuable. The 1965 quarter is famous because it marks the first year of transition from silver to a copper-nickel clad composition, which was a major shift in U.S. coinage. This historical change, combined with the multiple error varieties that exist, has made the 1965 quarter highly collectible. This article explores the 1965 quarter's historical context, key error varieties, and their current values, providing a deep look at what makes these coins sought after by collectors. Historical context of the 1965 Washington quarter. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Originally struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, the quarter maintained this composition until 1964. However, during the early 1960s, the United States faced a severe coinage shortage largely due to rising silver prices. Silver had become more valuable in bullion form, leading to widespread hoarding of coins. To combat this shortage and to prevent further hoarding, the U.S. Mint announced in 1964 that it would transition quarters, dimes, and eventually half dollars to a copper-nickel clad composition. This decision led to a significant change in 1965, when quarters were no longer produced in silver. Instead, the Mint adopted a copper core with a copper-nickel clad layer, which continues to be the standard for quarters today. This transition made 1965 quarters a critical milestone in U.S. coinage history. However, it also introduced a range of minting issues that resulted in errors, some of which have become highly desirable among collectors. Key error types for the 1965 Washington quarter. The transition from silver to clad composition involved a series of adjustments in the minting process, which created opportunities for errors. Some of these errors are relatively common, while others are extremely rare, adding value to the 1965 quarter. Below are the primary error types associated with this coin. 1965 Silver Planchet Error. This is the most famous and valuable error type for the 1965 quarter. During the transition period, a small number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets intended for 1964 quarters. This resulted in a handful of 1965 quarters being minted with the old silver composition instead of the new copper-nickel clad alloy. These quarters, known as wrong planchet or silver planchet errors, are highly prized due to their rarity and historical significance. Identifying characteristics. A 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet will weigh around 6.25 grams, compared to the 5.67 grams typical for copper-nickel quarters. The color of a silver planchet quarter will also be distinctly different, appearing silver without the reddish tinge of copper. Testing the coin's composition, either by weight or through a specific gravity test, can confirm if a 1965 quarter is indeed struck on a silver planchet. Value. These quarters are exceedingly rare, and examples can fetch anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 or more, depending on condition. The rarity of this error makes it a highly sought-after piece for serious collectors. High-grade examples certified by PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, typically command premium prices at auction. Clipped planchet error. Another error type found in 1965 quarters is the clipped planchet error, where part of the coin is missing due to an incomplete punch in the planchet. This error can vary in size and shape, ranging from minor clips to significant portions of the coin missing. Clipped planchet errors can occur on any coin, but they are more collectible when found on transitional dates, such as 1965. Identifying characteristics. Clipped planchet errors often have a smooth, curved edge where metal is missing. There may be a blunted, reeded edge in the affected area, with the clip sometimes showing evidence of a Blakesley effect, where the opposite side of the coin may appear weakly struck near the clip. Value. The value of clipped planchet errors varies based on the size of the clip, its location, and the overall condition of the coin. Typically, 1965 clipped planchet quarters can sell for between $20 and $100, with larger clips attracting higher prices. Broad strike error. A broad strike error occurs when a coin is struck without the collar die that helps shape its rim. This causes the metal to expand outward, resulting in a slightly larger, flattened appearance with a lack of defined edges. Broad strike errors are popular among error collectors, as they clearly display a deviation from standard production. Identifying characteristics. Broad-struck quarters will have a larger than usual diameter and a somewhat stretched appearance. The edge will lack reading, which makes it easy to distinguish from standard quarters. Value. Broad-strike 1965 quarters are less rare than silver planchet errors but are still collectible, typically ranging from $50 to $150 depending on condition and how well the error is displayed. Off-center strike error. Off-center errors happen when the planchet is improperly aligned during striking, resulting in part of the design being off-center. This error can vary widely, from minor misalignments to more severe cases where a significant portion of the design is missing. Identifying characteristics. The coin's design will be shifted to one side, with blank space on the opposite side. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the error. Value. Off-center strikes for the 1965 quarter can command between $20 and $200, with the most dramatic off-center errors bringing higher premiums. Double die error. Although less common on 1965 quarters, double die errors do exist. This error occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a doubled image, causing the design elements to appear doubled on the coin itself. Doubling may affect various parts of the design, such as the inscriptions, date, or details on Washington's portrait. Identifying characteristics. Doubling can be observed under magnification, particularly on letters or numbers. The doubling on 1965 quarters is typically minor and often requires careful inspection to confirm. Value. Double die 1965 quarters, depending on the severity of the doubling, may range from $10 to $50. Although not as rare or valuable as other types of errors, they remain collectible due to the popularity of double die varieties. Collectibility and market value. The market value of error quarters from 1965 largely depends on the rarity and visibility of the error. The silver planchet error is by far the most valuable, with only a handful of known examples. These coins are usually authenticated and graded by reputable third-party grading services, as their high value makes counterfeiting a concern. Other error types, like off-center strikes and broad strikes, are generally more accessible but still command premiums over face value, particularly in high-grade, uncirculated condition. The demand for these errors has steadily grown as more collectors focus on error coins. Transitional years, like 1965, hold particular interest due to the historical significance of the composition change. This shift means that 1965 error quarters have both intrinsic historical value and collectibility within the numismatic community. Tips for collectors. Authentication and grading. Given the high value of some errors, it's advisable to have rare 1965 error quarters authenticated and graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. This not only confirms the error but also provides a grade, which can significantly impact market value. Weight test for silver planchet. If you believe you have a 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet, consider weighing the coin. Authentic 90% silver quarters weigh approximately 6.25 grams, while copper-nickel-clad quarters weigh around 5.67 grams. A digital scale with at least 2 decimal places is ideal for this test. Research and documentation. Error coins require careful research to accurately identify the type of error and its rarity. Consult reputable coin guides, error coin references, or professional numismatists to learn more about error identification. Condition and I appeal. Like all collectible coins, the condition of the error quarter affects its value. Uncirculated or mint-state coins are generally more valuable, and errors that clearly display the mistake tend to attract higher premiums. Conclusion. The 1965 Washington quarter stands as a fascinating and historically significant piece in U.S. numismatics, especially given its transitional status from silver to copper-nickel. While standard 1965 quarters are common, the error varieties, particularly those struck on silver planchets, are rare and valuable, attracting significant interest from collectors. Each error type, from silver planchets to off-center strikes and broad strikes, tells a unique story about the minting process during a time of change. Collectors interested in error coins can find a rich vein of history in the 1965 quarter, making it a prized addition to any collection focused on 20th-century U.S. coinage. Error quarters from 1965 continue to command high premiums, particularly in well-preserved conditions, as collectors appreciate their historical importance and the technical mishaps that make them unique. As with all collectible coins, the key to building a successful collection is to stay informed, rely on